well, there's this moment where you went, all right, I think I've gleaned enough. I'm going to jump out on my own and start being, self-employed, an entrepreneur. Like, was that a scary moment for you? Because I think when a lot of younger creatives are coming up, I agree with you. They probably should work for a while for other people and learn the ins and outs of the industry, but not just industry, about money and business and
Yeah.
communication, all those things. But at some point they might want to make that leap, but a lot of them feel really scared. So
Yeah.
were you scared? Was that a weird
Oh
thing?
yeah,
Like,
man. So it was a few things so I didn't like do cold turkey. A lot of entrepreneurs will say, "Oh, you want to do your own thing? Just quit and you just hit the ground running." But a lot of folks have responsibilities, kids, things going on. Back then, I was 27, so my wife and I had just bought our like townhouse. Our mortgage was pretty low. Like we didn't have a lot of overhead expenses. She was working full time, and so it was. And I had enough. I mean, we would have been on a ramen diet for a few months, but I had enough money to float us, until we needed. And she was a huge help as well. So at that
so you
point,
built a runway, right?
exactly, a small one, but it
Sure.
was
Yeah.
better than zero. And I didn't leave that agency and just go 100% entrepreneurship. I transitioned into a job where I was working like 9 to 2 Monday through Friday, where I could have time after to work. And I was working as soon as I get home. I spend a couple hours with my wife, and then I would work until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning every day for the
Right.
first few years to really own my skills. And yeah, so for me, it was terrifying, man, because I had never experienced that before. I'd never been an entrepreneur, but I knew that I had to take that leap. And if there wasn't a perfect moment, that would have been like the closest thing to it, because I just didn't have a lot of expenses and a lot of things going on where I could take that leap. And so glad I did.
Right. Yeah, I love it. I love the idea of, hey, fail when you're young, step out and make moves when you're young. Like when you have the opportunity to fail and eat ramen for a little bit and come back, right? It's different than when you have a mortgage and multiple kids and now you're worrying about retirements. Like jump out there, don't be
So
afraid. The
true.
worst, I tell people all the time, the worst thing that could happen is what? You go back to work for somebody for a little
Yeah.
while. Like
Yeah.
that's the worst thing that could happen if
Exactly.
you got the skill set and you're hireable, right? So if that's you, I agree. Like build that runway, go out and do that. But as you're doing that, is there any, besides building that runway, and you kind of mentioned a little bit, like you got to have a good work ethic. Some people have this idea that working for yourself or freelancing, it's like
Yeah.
all coffee shops and travel and Instagram reels and stuff. Was it hard for you when you stepped out? Like not only was it hard, but like what things did you need to learn basically? Let me
Yeah, yeah.
rephrase the question
Man,
like
it's
that. Like,
there's so much like they don't tell you when you step out that you need to learn. First, financial literacy, right? You need to know how to balance your books. You might need to hire a CPA part-time or use a tool like Bench to take care of your bookkeeping. But when you start out, you're probably not doing a ton of volume or a ton of transactions. So it's a little bit easier to kind of learn those skills and tune those in as you get better with what you do. But yeah, man, it was terrifying. And a lot of people don't tell you, but when you step into entrepreneurship, it's almost like you're in a silo, right? You're usually by yourself. You're in an office. Now, you might have teammates through Slack or communicate with people, but it does feel quite lonely when you're walking through that day to day of trying to get things done.
I was going to ask you that, not to interrupt, but like I feel like that's kind of something interesting to kind of like key down on.
Yeah.
Do you still work remote? You still are rocking things like from that amazing home office you have there. Do you get
Thanks.
lonely? Do you ever have a lack of creativity or kind of like drive because you're kind of isolated? And if so, how do you kind of respond to that? How do you work
Yeah,
with that?
you do get it sometimes. For me, some of the ways that I kind of avoid or negate that is, one, we have weekly calls with our team. Right now, we're about a 9-person remote team, so we have call leadership calls once a week on Mondays. Once a month, we have 5-4 social, which is the social day where we just get on and just talk about life and things going on, no work related stuff. So that helps us really connect on a consistent basis because we're talking at least once a week, like with everyone on the call. Then we might have like individual one-on-ones every other week just to keep everybody in tune what's going on. But that's a good way that I keep consistency and communication with our team being completely remote. Another way is I try to kind of block out my day. So I'll usually work from about 8:30 to 2, pick up my son, spend time with him and with my wife. And then usually around like 8 or 9, I'll just like prepare my task and everything for the next day and get that work done. So right now I'm not working a ton of hours per day. It's maybe like 6 to 8. Before it was 12 to 14, and that was insane. So, I'm trying to really create systems, delegate, so that way I can not be in that silo for 14, 16 hours a day and start to get in that rut.